everybody, this is Paul Metal, and today we are based on a magical journey across different servers to find out what is going on different servers. It would help if I pressed push to talk so they could hear me on the other side.
That usually does help, yes.
It does. Today we're on the Hyperion server interviewing two lovely people because one couldn't make it. Sadness indeed.
Deep and lasting sadness.
Today we have Klaus, Nightbringer.
How's it going?
And I'm gonna... Is it Sarah?
Sarah.
And Sarah. And if you don't know who they are from the PhoenixDownRadio podcast.
How's it going, lovely people?
Nice to see you all here, interact with online. I'm overthinking this.
And yes, there should be one more of us normally. The lovely Luna Vox unfortunately had some previous engagements that she had to take care of, but she does pass along her best.
Holiday obligations and whatnot, I think.
Lovely holidays. Gotta love them.
Most wonderful time.
Of the year.
Did I detect a little sarcasm with that singing there, Sarah?
Don't know what you're talking about. Everything is happy and joyful.
Happy, joy?
Let's not go down that.
Well, they don't know why I'm here. Well, they do, because I'm interviewing them on the show of shows, the Final Fantasy server, the show. Made by me, the host, Paul Metal himself, as an Elzen today. I'm a Rogadin on my main, but this is a special occasion. And today we're here to interview PhoenixDownRadio, but mainly their server. I want to know what they think of the server. So please, what do you guys think of this server in general?
Sarah, I'm gonna let you go ahead and start with that.
I mean, it seems like a pretty nice server. Generally, people that I've run into have been friendly, fairly goofy, fun-loving. It is a legacy server, so you do have people around who are playing back from 1.0. I definitely know that affects the economy in some ways. A bit more gil around in the economy, so housing prices are a bit more expensive, other things like that. But that is actually something I've always wondered about, just how much difference there is from server to server. I don't have much experience on other servers, so I don't really have a good feel for what would even necessarily change.
I think a lot of it's evened out. Excuse me. In the the 2 years that the game has been out, but right away when the game first started, there was a huge discrepancy in the amount of gil on the legacy servers versus the new player servers. But like I said, being the game's been out for 2 years, there's a lot of gillionaires out on all the servers, so it's not quite as bad as it used to be.
Not just the gil amounts, but also the fact that at launch you plunk down a server full of people who can already craft high level items. I feel like that had to also create a real difference in how things interacted.
And plus people had a large amount of gil that they brought in with their characters as well, so people could pay higher prices and charge higher prices from the get-go. So
I had so many random materials when I started. I'm sure that affected the markets too.
Yeah, broken materia I think really gave people a lot of money when the game first came out.
Oh yeah, I cleaned up on that.
You could make whatever material you wanted, couldn't you?
Pretty much. I actually ended up saving it for quite some time, so... But with the stockpile I had, I could have easily done 20-30 million without even blinking.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's so weird.
But yeah, I actually transferred onto Hyperion. I had a character initially on the Sargatanas server. I played 1.0 for a little bit, and I really couldn't get into the game, so I basically had given it up. Then I heard 2.0 was coming out, so I heard about, so I met some people during the beta test who are from Hyperion, who unfortunately I didn't get to hook back up with again once the game launched, but I had already transferred to Hyperion, and then I read about this free company, Phoenix Down. It is a gay-friendly free companies, and I'm definitely an ally of that cause, so I wanted to join with them, and that's how I ended up here. and I really do enjoy the people. It's really friendly for the most part. There's a lot of people who work hard to advance. There's a pretty decent end game community in here as well, but also a lot of people who are helpful enough to the people who are starting, which I'm with a new character now here, Paul. I'm assuming that you're seeing a lot of that as well.
Well, that's starting me ask questions, isn't it?
Well, that's what happens when you start interviewing a fellow talk show host, huh?
Yeah, I like it.
I'll go ahead and throw in, like, the Hyperion is one of the servers that tends to usually be closed off to new character creation just of how many people are already on it. So you don't see nearly as many new people as I would expect on other servers. And I feel like oftentimes when I do see them, it's because they specifically did come here because a friend was already here, or they had some specific reason to come here. So that I feel like you also get a bit of a different flavor with your new players as well.
Though I am seeing a large number of little green sprouts floating around the community as of the last few months. So I think they've either opened up the floodgates a little bit to make it easier to get on here, or maybe they're just getting better with getting rid of Gil Seller accounts.
Who knows?
That and the actual game itself was actually on sale on Steam. So that was getting a lot of people coming on, actually.
As well as a lot of retail outlets here in the U.S. during Black Friday weekend. We actually had where if you bought Heavensward for $20 at GameStop, you got a free copy of A Realm Reborn. So you got everything you needed for $20.
Yeah, so I'm sure there were lots of people who are like, hey, it's a cheap game, I'll go ahead and get it and try it out. It'll be interesting to see how many stick around.
Yep, which is part of the reason why we talked a little bit about the new user experience on our last episode of PhoenixDownRadio. Go take a listen.
Plug.
And you should go check them out. You should go check them out. No.
Sorry.
You should go check them out, actually. They do really good stuff. They actually stream on a regular basis, so I usually tune in. I definitely like their fight night Fridays. I love them. I love watching them PvP. Even though Klaus sucks at it.
Hey, only most of the time. Only most of the time.
It's like playing in your local soccer team or whatever. You're not there to be professional. You're there to have a good time and maybe go get drunk after the game.
And, well, we aside from the getting drunk part, we do have a good time with it. This week, we didn't do too much of it. I think this week and next week are going to be kind of hampered by the holidays. So I'm not sure if I'll be doing much of that streaming for PvP. But
you could totally have a Christmas special. Ignore all your relatives' day.
I don't think that they would like that.
But you'll be ignoring them, so who will care?
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm going to be, at Christmas Day, I'll be with family, and actually the next weekend I'm going to be visiting a family up north, so I won't actually be around to do much streaming, so unfortunately, I don't have that laptop set up to stream.
It happens.
It does. When holidays come up, you gotta make sacrifices.
Yeah.
I don't make too much sacrifice because I may just do YouTube videos and occasional stream if I can be mustered up to do it.
Yeah.
But also, you said about gay. Was it gay? Something about gay with the free company.
Yeah, Phoenix Down is a LGBT and allies community. So we, I'd say the majority are gay, lesbian, bi, trans, whatever.
Josh is our token straight person.
I'm the token straight guy, but I'm an ally.
Well, that's good then. I joined the right free company then because I'm biased. So it's all good.
Exactly. I mean, one thing. I mean, I'm not trying to stereotype the server by any means, but I do know. I would say that Hyperion is definitely a very LGBT friendly server.
Yeah, it's interesting that you end up like not just in this game, but in a lot of MMOs, you end up with like a couple servers that are generally known as, hey, this is the really gay friendly one, or this is the one that has lots of LGBT guilds or things like that. I've always been kind of interested in the dynamics of how that rises up.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that not everybody is on here, but it's one of those things that like I said, it seems to be a more friendly atmosphere for everybody on Hyperion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does seem friendly. I haven't seen any. I'll use this term like any toxicness. And
Yeah,
you've seen
there's
other
very
games
little
where
toxicity as far as that goes. But I mean, don't get me wrong. We do still have there's still people that do create toxic environments. You're going to have it on every server.
Yeah.
We just try and blacklist them and move on with our lives.
And that's is the quote for this one. Blacklist them and move on with your lives. Klaus,
Exactly.
2015.
I'm going to be famous for that.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
man, can you like line that up with the comments about relatives? That'll be great.
If only, Sarah, if only.
Okay, see, you don't even need to edit for that quote.
Just blacklist and move on.
You think I edit? God.
Oh, we came up with the title now, Sarah. Blacklist and move on.
There we go.
Alright, moving on to the next question. How is it raiding? How's the raiding wise on this server?
I'm gonna leave that to you, Klaus.
And I would say I'm probably one of the mid-core type of people. I'm definitely not hardcore, but we do have a number of people who've completed Alex Savage all the way through A4S. We see a few of those buggies flying around the server, and we do have a number of people who are still, with party finders up for member replacements for the week or whatever. So there's still a good number of people who are running the Alex Savage content. Though once Thornton came out, I would say a lot of that focus shifted for the people who were still kind of banging their heads against the wall on a 3S, because that is definitely a difficult fight for a lot of people to try and wrap their heads around. Do you have much experience with that one, Paul?
With S3, yeah, it kicked my ass many of times.
Yeah, a lot of people are really stuck on that last phase when you get those 3 water puddles and all the tethers and everything that going on at once. People we're still really trying to figure out how to stay alive during a lot of that. So a lot of the focus shifted to Thornton to help get that weapon to get better damage going out, as well as a little bit more survivability with the extra vitality stat they get. And then with Diadem as well, people are putting a lot of time into that to get more 210 gear. I mean, as you can see, my character is decked out with it when you checked earlier. But I would say it's still alive and well. But like a lot of servers, there aren't a lot of people who have completed everything because it is very difficult. It is Savage difficulty.
Yeah, of course it is. But another question for raiding. Is it easier to find a raid group here, or is it harder?
It depends on what class you are, to be honest with you. I would say right now, tanks have a pretty easy time finding a weekly raid. Healers, and then the support, like the bards and machinists, have a relatively easy time. If I wanted to pug a group, I could probably find one anytime I wanted to, for the most part, if I'm looking at the right times. Certain DPS classes have maybe a little bit more difficulty, like the melee DPS. They may have a more difficult time, but if you really wanted to find it, you could get your clears through for the week.
What about just finding a stable one?
Oh, as far as finding a stable, I would say there's always people recruiting as well. You can check the party finder usually during prime time hours, and you'll see somebody who's looking for a full-time replacement for their group, or a person who's advertising for their services to join a full-time group. So that's still happening, holiday time, and then with all the new content we've been getting, it's slowed down maybe a little bit because the focus shifts for what people want to do. But yeah, I would say it's still easy for that too, to get yourself a full-time static, and if you know enough people, in a free company or a link shell, I mean, you can always try and find the right group of people that you would gel with, because I've myself have probably had at least half a dozen statics in the last year, just because maybe things didn't seem to work out as far as we didn't gel on a personal level, or maybe the progress wasn't where everybody wanted it to be, and you just want to try and move on to find that right fit. So hope that answered a little bit better.
Yes, it did.
All right, cool.
Well, you said, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, not a whole lot. I don't do very much in the way of raiding myself. I'm hoping to once some stuff with my work situation changes a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I certainly see the Diadem docks tend to be fairly crowded. A little less so lately, but again, I don't know how much of that to attribute just to holiday busyness. And I certainly have seen those various party finders up. I guess that's when it was interesting listening to the description of what roles are in demand, because part of me wonders, is that something that's specific to our server, or is that just something that's kind of representative of the player base as a whole? It's always hard to tell like which things are, hey, this is something special about the server, and which ones are, hey, this is just how the game is as a whole. I suppose for you going around to all the different servers, you do get a little bit more of the broader picture that way.
That's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah.
As this is the first show, the first server I've actually been on, so...
Oh, awesome. Well then, yeah, I'll definitely look forward to seeing what other servers are reporting and how the broader picture looks on that.
I expect a full report on my desk when you're done with this, Paul.
I don't work for you.
I like you.
I work for my own goddamn podcast. Don't get paid, but...
It was just a joke. Don't rip my head off.
You should rip his head off.
Oh no, I'm too low level right now.
Oh,
Give me time.
Okay, then. Hey Klaus, change to your thaumaturge.
Thanks for the offer, but I'll have to pass.
Ah.
Well, no, hopefully, if you guys actually looked at my Twitter, we were actually going to do something with this lovely character that I have decked out today.
Yeah, it was a kind of an interesting thing that you had talked about.
Yeah, if you are on Hyperion, just, look these guys up, because they're actually pretty cool. I've enjoyed talking to them for the past, I don't know, hour, was it? I don't remember. The hour that we were talking about.
We were talking for about an hour before the show started, I would say.
It was pretty good talk, while I was eating my hot wings and they died. That wasn't very good. Still feeling the after effects.
So what level are you up to now, Paul? And what quests are you working on?
28, and we are working on the lovely Hawk Manor so far.
Ooh.
That was actually I really liked that dungeon, when I was leveling up. It was a nice dungeon, fun difficulty, good mechanics, and you could run it for a few levels.
And atmospherically, it was just pretty great.
Well, yeah, you can level it up to, I think it's 4 levels, so you got like quite a long time. You might have to run it like a few more times if you don't have like rested bonus or XP on and your free company and all that. It's a fun little dungeon I like to do. But as a tank, it's hard and annoying.
See, I like using that in skipping Sunken Temple and Cutters instead. Not a big fan of those dungeons, so I'd rather run Hawkman or a little bit extra, even if it's maybe slightly slower, but just because it's a lot more fun.
No one likes Cutter's Cry.
Oh no, I liked it.
That Chimera fight.
It's not it's stuff you're gonna need to learn how to do.
That's true, but I mean, a lot of people miss it because it's a side quest dungeon.
Yeah. We're same with Hatatali, really.
Yeah, I mean, they added the stuff later on such that you do have to clear Halatali at some point.
At some point. I don't know, but what I liked about Cutter's Cry is that I didn't record this, and I wish I did, is that Chimera was at 35%, and I was kiting it and killing it, and I killed it as a ninja.
Nicely done.
And I was really happy with that. The tank,
That's impressive.
The people there was just like, oh, well played. Like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I've definitely had fights like that where it's like, okay, it's down to 10% or whatever, everyone's dead but one person, and it starts turning into a big cheering section. Come on, you can do it! Move, you got it! It actually ends up sometimes feeling more tense than if the entire group was fighting it. It can be kind of wonderful.
It just feels like a mini raid going on in your head. It's like, shit, I'm the last person, what am I doing?
No, those make for those epic moments.
Indeed.
Yeah, I wish I had my recording stuff open and I would record that. Oh, it would be so good. Loads of views. Right, next question. How's the actual crafting society on here?
Sarah, you're probably the expert on this one.
I don't know that I'd call myself that much of an expert.
Well, of the two of us.
Yeah, I certainly, I'll go around to time nodes, and I do see plenty of people gathering their scripts, crafting away in Idleshire. I know plenty of people who are creating the high-level stuff. The last couple patches have certainly made some of those parts a bit more accessible. So I feel like there is a good community for it, and I suspect at least part of that is, again, starting from the very beginning. You did have an established group of, hey, here's crafters, here's gatherers. We can start building up that supply chain, have that stuff available. So I feel like in general, the materials and like have been a little bit more accessible and as a result, a little bit more affordable than they might have been on servers where everyone was starting from the beginning. I end up just gathering random stuff, usually on the way to other things, put it up on the markets, and that's enough to make a steady income stream. So there's definitely people buying, even random stuff that I wouldn't have expected niche market crafts.
Definitely. And with the relics now requiring a lot of high-level crafting, all 8 of the crafters have specialization that they need to make these pieces. It's really pushing the end game crafters to up their game as well.
Right.
I know people are making a ton of money right now. I mean, when it first came out, those items were selling for, I believe, over 2 million a piece in some cases for the HQ versions.
I kind of wonder who is buying at that price. I mean, you'd have to. It's not going to even do you any good until you get the 20 unidentifiable items. Anyways.
Exactly. So I don't, unless they were buying them just to say they had them and not worry about it. But the price has dropped. But I still think when I priced it out last night, I mean, we're still looking at about 15 million to buy all HQ versions of the pieces. So I mean, it's still there's a lot of money to be made by crafters out there. A lot of the higher level crafting and gathering accessories are selling for a large amount of gil as well. So I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of money to be made, and you can make a decent amount of money if you slowly level up your crafts as well. I mean, I'm slowly working mine up. I've got a 57 goldsmith, and then everything else is 53 and up. So
he still makes me cook all his meals
because you do it so well.
And I actually kind of enjoy it. Cooking's fun. But anyways.
But I'm able to self-sustain myself through it. It's not costing me a fortune. I couldn't pay a lot of money to power level myself up, but I'm enjoying taking my time a little bit as well.
Yeah, the new items definitely have thrown things. I think it's the same thing that happens whenever you have a new release like this. You've got this entirely new thing, and there's definitely a bit of no one's actually entirely sure what it's worth. And so you have people, you try a high price because if you try, it's safer to try a high price and not have it bought than to under list it by several million and have a whole lot of lost profit. So I think there's just a bit of that experimenting, but there's definitely the people to create the supply. I think a lot of it at the moment is just trying to decide, is it worth it to get into this market rather than whether we actually have the people who can get into it.
Yep, we need to determine what the demand actually is. I know, granted, it's going to be very high for some of these items, but it's going to take about a month or so until that demand is going to be really high. But at that point, the supply is probably going to be pretty. It's going to be there to match it. So
yeah, some people do like to pre-buy their items. I expect that the prices are going to go down over time, just because, as I said, they tend to aim high and then drop down from there. But there's definitely also, again, people with the money to do it, and some people do like to just get it bought and out of the way and feel like, okay, it's done. That's the entire reason we have futures markets. In real life, I mean. We don't actually have futures markets in FF14.
New class coming up. You got your trader.
Do you want me to start making mortgage-based derivatives? I will start making mortgage-based derivatives.
Dear Yoshi, please make it happen. Okay, thanks, bye.
and then we'll have a whole bunch of foreclosures, and that's how we'll clear out the housing wards.
I love it. Let's do it.
Probably some people are going to starve to death, by the way.
It's a game. You don't starve.
Oh, well then, no moral consequences.
yeah, they were fine.
I will save the economics jokes for later.
I never thought we'd actually make an economic joke in this show, so bravo, sir.
Woo! Economics.
You'll probably be the first one and probably the last one.
I'm going to regard that as a compliment.
It was a
You'll go down
compliment.
in history.
Right, the next question is, how is the social expert? Do people help each other? Do people help low levels? If they're not in the FC, will they just go up to them and just say, hello, do you need some help?
I don't think I've seen the necessarily just approaching randomly unsolicited. If someone does have the little sprout symbol over them and they're saying, hey, can I get help? I've generally seen people being willing to give advice or things like that. My suspicion is, again, I was mentioning, this is a server where you don't see new people coming in as often, and when they do, they're often already connected to someone who's there, like they were invited by a friend. And so I've always had the assumptions like, okay, they probably know the basics of what they're doing, or they probably do have at least someone who will help them out already. So I don't necessarily approach them unsolicited, but if they are asking, I'll help.
And we do get a few new people that have joined the free company or that I'll see shouting for assistance doing this or that. And I have, seen groups, trying to get clears for specific content for first timers. So I would say that overall, it's been a pretty good community, at least on Hyperion, to where people are, for the most part, helpful. We do, of course, get those people who are going into, say, a random daily roulette, and they end up getting a first timer, and they were expecting to just speed run through it, and they're like, oh, come on, skip your cutscenes, let's go. I mean, we do still get that type of toxicity, but for the most part, especially now, I would say, because tomes are really needed for purchasing a lot of these relic items, people like seeing those extra those bonus tome messages and things like that. So that's one way that people are willing to help out, but people who do the party finders to get new content, I see a lot of people joining in and helping out other people like that. So
I mean, the measure that I always use is if we're waiting around like for a fate to pop or some other thing like that, there's just a bunch of people staying around. If I make some random comment or joke or whatever, how many people will join in or laugh or otherwise participate in conversation? Generally, pretty consistently, people will join in on that. So it's like, hey, they're not just, oh man, forget everything else, shut it all out, I just want progress. They're generally willing to relax and have a good time and talk with people. That's been my experience.
You also see it a lot in Mordona and Idleshire. There's a lot of random comments going on. Even in Diadem, people start to make really random comments and get really weird conversations going. But it's a lot of fun to kind of read through those every once in a while. And you wonder what the heck people are on sometimes. But I'd say there's definitely a huge social aspect going on as well within the community. And Free Company generally has a lot of chat going on, as you probably know since you joined us when you got your character on this server, Paul.
It was very quiet.
That's true.
It depends on the time of day.
Yeah, night is pretty good.
We actually pick up a lot, especially in the very early hours of the morning.
We have a lot of night owls.
Yeah.
Your night owls, that's like, middle of the day for me, so.
Right.
Yeah, but middle of the day for us here this is an NA server, so prime time is going to be between like 7 and 1 a.m. Eastern time. Usually those 5 hours are probably the busiest on the server.
It's
out to maybe 1 a.m. Pacific, but
it's interesting to I always like to think compared to FF11 where you had the servers weren't region segregated at all, and so there was like a worldwide population on every server, and there would be some times that were more active, but did generally seem a bit more evened out throughout the day, and you definitely have a lot more of the spikes on a server like this one where it is largely grouped by a particular region. So it's kind of interesting to see that dynamic, to know that there will be times where no, it is all quiet, and you're gonna, if you want to just do solo stuff, things, and not interact with others, that is something that's there. But there's also times where it's going to be a bit busier and active.
I would say usually I've got a few link shows that are pretty active throughout the day. So like I said, it all depends on the social groups that you can find and hang out with. So sometimes you just need to shout for it. Looking for a social LS, please invite.
Yeah.
One more. Oh, not one more. I've still got a little, around about 3 more questions. If you could approve anything on the server, what would it be?
Anything?
I
Anything.
think something that's going to be server specific.
Okay.
No random
that's
anima weapons dropping out of midair.
Oh, darn it. Take away all the fun.
I think we all wish for that.
That's interesting. I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, we kind of get used to the status quo for the server, how things are, and you kind of, learn to live with it or deal with it.
Yeah, it's not something you often end up thinking about, although something did come to mind. So I remember, and this ties into actually I have some disappointments with how housing is shaken out. I remember like when it first started up, the housing wards were like this really social thing. A lot of the wards actually did end up creating like neighborhood association link shells, which was just, hey, here's a spot for people who are in this one to chat, and it was like a neat little social thing that was tied together. And then over time, that kind of died away, and the housing wards mostly just became like, hey, here's a big collection of essentially trophy rooms, which seemed to get away from what I really wanted housing to be. So I think something that if there was a little bit more community in that sense, it was kind of interesting to have this community that was thrown together in a quasi-random way. And I would like it if there was ways to do like more actual meaningful neighborhood stuff.
Yeah, and I will, on top of that, being we're a legacy server, the houses went fast. There was a lot of gil already on the server, so a lot of people who had a lot of money, they bought houses. They gave it to their FCs so their FC could buy a house. And then when it became open for anybody to buy a house, then all those rich crafters and people that just had saved up a lot of gil went and bought all the houses. So
yeah,
there really aren't.
Our prices are significantly higher than a lot of servers, and they still go fast.
Yep, I mean as soon as the house is open, I mean you need to run there real fast to try and grab it, because more than likely it's going to be sold within a few hours. It's not even going to get to that next step where it drops down in price. And I think our small houses were going for what, 12 million?
Something like that.
A lot of money. I know mediums were at 30 to 34 million, depending on the quality of the ward it's in. Larges were 80 million.
But getting back to the social aspect, that is actually a good point. Like the housing thing is again something where it's harder for the newer players to necessarily participate in it. Maybe they join a free company that has stuff going, but otherwise it's a long time before they even have the hope of that. So if something that would allow a bit more mixing of the newer players and the more established ones. I know you get that in the duty roulette and other things like that, but it's not necessarily that there's any animosity between the groups. It's just that they don't often end up crossing paths unless there's like some specific reason to.
Yeah, I would say being we're a more established server and had a lot of high-level players to start with, there was a little bit of a divide initially when it came to the high ends versus the low ends. There's a little bit of elitism, but I think you see that even nowadays on any server, between the hardcores versus the brand newbies or the casuals. But I don't know, I have seen it, but I want to say that, for the most part, from what I've seen, it's a pretty friendly group.
Mm-hmm.
We get a few people who like to snag hunts early, and they're well known on the server. I'm not going to name any names, but
Yeah.
Those who watch this episode will probably know who I'm talking about. But like I said, you get a few bad apples in there, but I try not to let it spoil the entire group. So
Yeah.
I still like Hyperion.
Yeah, I do too.
How does the server hold up in connection? Do you get people DC a lot, or how is the connection for the server?
That is a loaded question, because right now there are a lot of issues with the NA data center.
Right.
We and Square's aware of this. There's we're still people reporting that once we hit prime time hours, a lot of people will start lagging out and they'll get 90K'd, or they'll just rubber band a lot. So much to the fact where that basically they can't do anything. Raids become, basically they see like a slideshow of what's going on, and then they're dead.
My general experience has been that people still regard that as something that's unusual and like, hey, this is something to be worried about, not something that's like, oh, business as usual.
Well, when the game first launched, it kind of ended up being business as usual, and it pushed a lot of people to use VPN services to try and get out of it. But it's along those same routes as to how our traffic is passing through to the servers. And like I said, I don't think Hyperion is the only one that's getting this. But like I said, we do notice those issues where. But I would say it's less than half of the people are experiencing it, because it's not every route between where you're playing your game at and going through to the data center that's experiencing those issues. There are still a lot of perfectly good routes where the data goes through just fine.
Right.
But
it's
depending on time of day.
My general experience has been that it's intermittent. Like, it's not always a thing, so...
Yeah.
I'm willing to chalk it up to temporary weirdness. I know on the forums they do ask that when there's issues on that to fill out the official form and report as much of the info as possible, because that is how they end up tracking down if there's some issue on an intermediary server. So definitely recommend that people do that. But at the moment, it's more of an anomaly than an everyday occurrence.
Yeah,
I would say when connecting to actually getting into the lobby server, and when you make a good connection to the data center, I would say the Hyperion server itself is pretty stable. We haven't had very many issues where they've actually had to do emergency maintenance on it. So as far as that goes,
one time I crashed the server.
Well, that was very early on in the game too, wasn't it?
No, that was recent.
Oh, I must have missed that one, but I remember.
What?
It wasn't actually me that did it. We had just been goofing around in free company chat, and I had started shouting about Boom Gobby Doom, and almost immediately after that, the servers went down.
That was like a couple months ago, wasn't it?
Not that. Yeah, like a month or two ago.
But I remember back when it first came out, there was a lot of issues where, a number of the servers went down at the same time, and Hyperion was, did go up and down a couple of times during the first couple of months. But since then, it's been pretty good.
That's fairly common for any new MMO. There's only so much load testing you can do without actually putting the however many million people on the server. There's a lot of the methods of testing do not actually scale up well. So, not really any way to tell what's going to break until you actually throw the people at it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've had the same issue on Hyperion. No, not Hyperion. No, Behemoth, sorry. Where people will just be like getting disconnected, like getting booted out of the game. Me and my friend have been having some weird frame drops, and it's not our PCs, because our PCs don't do that, and it's just like, it was just really weird. It's really confusing, because I know they've been having a lot of trouble, but I've been on other servers, and it's like, well, there's not much trouble. Mm-hmm. But then again, I am from the merry old England, so on an NA server, because I didn't like the EU servers, so...
Yeah, how about those, like, transatlantic data cables?
They actually amazingly work pretty well, I would say. Yeah. Pretty lucky on that aspect.
Honestly, the whole thing about, hey, you are doing this cable across an entire ocean, that is actually fairly impressive. Huh.
Oh, you want to sit on our comfy floor now, huh?
I fucked up. I accidentally moved, and...
Dude,
that was funny, though. I loved that position you just sat into.
Dude, I will sit on the floor against the couch all the time. It is super comfy.
Apparently it doesn't want me to sit on the chair, so...
No, yeah, that one weirds out sometimes. Usually you end up having to just, like, leave and come back. I don't know what's up with it.
Okay, cool. Yep, we're just gonna sit on this.
Paul's
cool.
become a ghost.
He's just gonna lean against a chair, and we're gonna be, like, totally chillaxing here. This is great. This is a very, like, informal, comfy environment. I like it.
There we go. We'll give it a new view now.
Alright. So chair bugged out there.
You've got easier access to the tea now.
Good. I like my tea.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Man, I could go for some tea right now.
Right, this is where we end the show, but I still have one more question. If you could say anything to the viewers out there about this server and want them to come to this server, what would you say?
Another interesting question. How would we hype up Hyperion, huh?
Were you just waiting to use that line?
No, I've used it a couple of times, so.
Fair enough. I mean, like, there's a come to Hyperion. We have people who make puns like that all the time. I don't think that's my actual answer. That's my snarky off-the-cuff response.
That's your Sayre answer, huh?
You're repeating me. I mean, I guess I just keep it short and sweet. It's like, people here are not jerks. It's a pretty nice server. You should come hang out with us.
We're friendly. We like, we have a good time, whether you're, a hardcore raider or a, brand new player. You'll find a good balance of people to play with on here, because I mean, it is a pretty high pop server.
People really care about their glamours.
Yeah, definitely that. So I mean, it's easy to make a decent amount of gil if you have crafters or gatherers.
Oh, I was more going from the angle of there'll be lots of people who look cool.
That too, a lot of pretty people.
Oh, we are the beautiful people.
I would say we're also pretty tolerant as well. So
yeah.
Hyperion, the tolerant server.
Hyperion, yeah, we're cool.
And
cool. This is why we don't work in the marketing department.
Exactly, that's what I was just gonna say.
Well. Well. This is the time of the show where we end it.
Well, we appreciate you picking us first, Paul. We've enjoyed having you in our free company. We appreciate that you asked us, Sayre and myself and Vox, to come talk about this, and we had a blast.
Yeah. You should totally feel free to come and hang out whenever you get tired from your traveling and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ever in Minnesota or in California during your travels, because you said you're going to be taking a vacation to the States sometime soon.
I will be.
Let us know ahead of time. We can maybe figure out, we can go to Mall of America if you hit Minnesota. There's a lot of stuff to do in California where Sayre's at.
Bay Area, California. California's kind of big. If you're down like in Los Angeles, I can't help you.
But you can always hook up with Mama Misty. She's another free company member, and she is a riot. You would love Misty.
Well, now I have the Discord. I can come in whenever I want.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
And also, we'll have to have you sometime on our show.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. PhoenixDownRadio, which actually has a new episode going live tonight. Sorry, shameless plug. But no, we do go live every other Saturday night. Tonight happens to be show night, and then we'll have another episode right after the first of the year. So, we hope that everybody who catches this show on Paul's YouTube channel comes to check us out sometime, and we'll be sending people this way as well. So
yeah, remember, you can go check them out, and I say thank you for you guys for being here as well. I've had a blast with you guys. It's been amazing. Had nice chats, and I think I really got to know this server now, as you guys have been talking about it. And you actually, because obviously they're from a podcast, guys. They're from a podcast. They were questioning me earlier. It's like interrogation gone wrong.
That's what we do.
I mostly just do stuff if it amuses me.
I will throw a link out to the channel in a moment, Jordan. So we'll be linking it on our on the Phoenix Down Radio Facebook page, so we can get it out there, because it's one of those auto-generated links, unfortunately, at this point. So
auto-generated.
you gotta love that. The Phoenix Down one is auto-generated as well. So it's one of those things you have to deal with it with technology. So we'll get it up. We'll link to you. If you want to link to us, that's awesome as well. And we'll look forward to doing some more cross-promoting sometime.
Yeah. And now I'm gonna look deep into the camera. Remember, everybody, this is the show of shows. This is the server show, where I basically go around every single server that we're going to do and talk to people, interview them about their server, and I hope you guys can join me on this. It'd be amazing. I had to cough. And everyone, remember, go check out Phoenix Down Radio. The link will all be in the description. You guys see them, they'll be their Twitch, Twitter, and etc. Go follow them. They're really awesome guys. They stream a hell of a lot. Their shows are awesome. And also, remember, go see the Whispering Dawn as well, because I'm usually there. as a backup host, but you also find me on the Pool Metal channel. So I hope you have a good day, my Paulaholics, and we will see you later. Good day.
Good night, Paulaholics.
Bye.